Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we are going to recap the Subversion Origins Australia versus Brazil event. We are also going to recap some matches that happened on Fight to Win 256. We are also going to preview Karate Combat Pit Submission 4 and ADCC 5, and then some other stuff happening later this week. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I think we're also going to recap Finishers, the Who's Number One Qualifier as well. So that was a fun event. You were actually at that live.
I was.
So that's
It was
cool.
a very long event.
You said it went
very
to
long.
like 1 a.m.
Yes, it was very long.
So we will talk about that as well. That had some fun matches. And again, I love talking about qualifiers because we've talked about it for years. I love when athletes can earn a slot onto a big event or a showcase event, or like basically be able to win an open tournament and get their name on another event or get another opportunity somewhere like ADCC. That's the whole thing with trials, is it's a feeder system for the world championships, and I love that. So I love when Finishers kind of partners with Who's Number One and does that. So we'll get a chance to talk about that this week. But before we get into any of that, we have some news. I think we talked about it last week, but ADCC and CJI have some changes. I think we talked about Isaac Cordova being out of
77.
Yeah, for ADCC. Oh, man.
Yeah, ADCC.
The entire last 3 months have been me going, okay, what event is someone out of and moving into? So again, we haven't gotten any drops from CJI yet, but it may happen because we still have a month out. The B team videos of their training look insane. Those guys are training like we have not seen them train really since last ADCC. And even then, I think the training videos, like those guys are putting in even more work with a more structured coach like Nima than last time. So Max Hansen, who actually is a Who's Number One qualifier from a previous Finishers, is now in. He did pretty good at trials. He's done a bunch of the trials. He's one of Dante Leon's guys.
Yeah.
Dynamic game. He basically, for years, we talked about Max Hansen being, was with the Thanos of all the
Locals.
Like,
the regional,
promotion.
yeah.
He at one point he held like every bout from 55 to 70 and 85 in 3 or 5 or 7 like different promotions.
The Midwest and like
and Finishers. And
but
then he
like
also
East
had
Coast,
Enigma.
yeah.
And then he also had
Finishers.
Yeah, he had both, Midwest and then. He was a 2-division champ, I think, in both.
Yeah.
And then
he had a bunch of other ones that were randomly.
He had he just had he was the champion of your regional event.
Yeah.
Across the United States.
If you had
some other regions,
if you had like a regional event that paid like $1,000 or like $5,000 or something,
Max Hansen was going to be
Max
there.
Hansen was going to be there, and he was going to win it.
Yep. And we talked about that for a long time. And so it's really cool to see him again, even though he hasn't had like the best kind of slots in trials. It's really cool to see him get the opportunity because he's a guy that we've been really hot on for probably about 2 years now.
Yeah.
Really since the last ADCC cycle when we saw him in Dante Leon's camp, and we just saw him just winning everything.
And he, what's it? No, it's not Nogi Worlds because that hasn't come up yet. That's in December. Mm-hmm. Him and his coach Dante, they closed out an IBJJF, and I thought it was a bigger IBJJF.
Was it Nogi Pans?
Nogi Pants, that's what it was.
I think that's what it was.
They closed out their division.
Yeah.
Right? Was it their division or absolute? My brain hurts.
Now
I can't
remember.
I just know that they closed out. Yeah.
And I remember you saying it and me not looking up because it's a closeout. It's gonna be a 10-second video, and if it's not world match, you're just not gonna find the closeout because it'll be just a blank screen in place of that match for if it's even broadcast. So,
American Nationals.
That's what it was. Okay.
It was American Nationals.
We occasionally, every couple of years, we'll cover American Nationals. Actually, we haven't covered American Nationals in a couple of years now, but so it was Nogi American Nationals.
Yeah, I pay attention to certain people because I think it's fun when you watch people like him and like Dante Leon, and they register for these tournaments that are not the biggest tournaments, and then they always register, like, you never know what weight they're going to do.
What happened this weekend at Virginia Open?
Yeah.
We had like IBJJF local to us in
but
in
no
Virginia
one actually appeared.
Malcolm Edmond was there, like Muhammad Ali didn't show up actually, right?
No, he didn't show up. He was supposed to go against Elder Cruz, and neither showed up.
That would have been a fun match. I wanted to see that match.
And then what else? There's the entire men's black belt light category didn't show up. Yeah. The entire category.
So it's Sometimes you get, for the locals, you move around. But that's right now what we have for the last ADCC CGI changes. We've talked about the CGI divisions for both under 80 and over 80 on the last couple of shows. Next week, we got the rules announcement this week. Next week is a little bit of a lighter show. We're going to focus in and hone in on like, hey, here are the CGI rules, talk about a lot of the nuances with the rules, how it's done, how it's scored, because we have a full breakdown of essentially all of the rules, but we have kind of a packed show this week. So move that to next week when it's mostly a preview heavy show. And so that will be the focus of next week's show. And then what other news do we got?
That's it. There isn't much going on.
That's it.
You got your...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got my black belt.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
We posted a video.
It's on the top there.
Yeah.
I did not see
Maine
it.
gets his black belt. Yeah.
Yep.
It was
finally got my black belt.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a super big promotion for the gyms. All the gyms got together and like did it. It was last Thursday. It was cool. It was a unique experience for sure. It was awesome to have everyone there. I got a bunch of photos with all of my team and Grappling Rewind, and you photoshopped Josh into the picture for the Grappling Rewind because he was on vacation. It was great. I'm super happy. I'm really proud to be kind of part of our team and part of the community. I said a bunch of words at my promotion. We don't tend to talk about us a huge amount in the intro of the show. I may talk a little bit more on the outro of the show. It was great. Thank you everyone for being part of this for all of these years. I started Grappling Rewind with Josh as a purple belt. So, like, doesn't really matter if you're a black belt or not. You can absolutely go on and do really cool things and start stuff when you are not a black belt.
But you can't be on the show unless you're a purple belt.
That's the rule.
I'm kidding.
That's like the unofficial rule. Is about purple. It's like,
but that's also the IBJJF. You can't teach into your purple.
Right.
So.
But usually by purple, my thought was like, enough at that point to like be able to contribute positively, and like you have a good nuanced understanding of technique. You might not know everything, but you have enough to absolutely contribute to a conversation like on a broadcast like this. So I started at a purple. Josh was a brown belt, like was the middle of his brown belt at that time. Like you can absolutely go on and start really neat and cool things and do really cool things.
Why didn't they throw you through a table like they did with Josh?
Because I'm not a fan of pro wrestling.
Okay.
That was a pro wrestling thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so mine was not getting thrown through a table because I have a bad back as it is.
Oh, that's probably true too.
So yeah, that was exciting this week. Really happy to be part of the community.
Yep.
If you like the show, we have no more news now.
I know.
That's the last news item we have.
Well, because there's nothing else going on right now.
Yeah, we have one more news item. Our buddy Colin Stewart. He teaches jiu-jitsu in Africa and Ethiopia. He wrote a book, Bow Before No Man. It's basically the origins of Brazilian jiu-jitsu in Ethiopia. He sent it to me. I just got it literally today. I've leafed through it a little bit. It's a really cool book about basically talking about jiu-jitsu in that region. It has a bunch of stories from him and from other practitioners. It has like some matches. It literally has a picture of the first women's match ever in Ethiopia. It's like a modern picture. It's a really cool kind of dive into that community in that location, in that place. And so if you want to get a copy of it, I think it's on Amazon. And it is Bow Before No Man. Haven't got a chance to read through it yet, but really excited. Thank you, Colin, for sending it to us. Yeah, it's cool. I trained with Colin a ton. He has phenomenal jiu-jitsu and has just absolutely tooled me many a time on the mats. And so,
I watched it.
Yeah, you've seen it.
I've seen it
happen.
happen.
Him just like run through me. It's like, okay, very, very good black belt. And so it's cool that he, wrote a book and is out there being a champion in that community and like bringing jiu-jitsu to other regions and locales of the world and kind of expanding the community. So it's really cool. And very, very happy he sent it to me. I look forward to reading it. So I don't think I have any other news. What do you want to recap first? Want to do Fight to Win? Want to do Finishers? Want to do Subversion? What do you think?
Let's do Subversion.
Okay. So this was Subversion, Brazil versus Australia.
Yeah.
And the format so Subversion does this they do kind of a dual meet format where they have a bunch of grapplers from a region and they have a bunch of grapplers from another region and they fight.
Yeah.
Kind of like Polaris does, but it's less of like the squads format and more of just like, hey, here's some good guys from both regions, and it's essentially a bunch of super fights with a team winner at the end.
Yeah. And they kind of pull other people in because like Degle came in as a Brazilian.
Yeah.
And I was like, not a Brazilian.
Might be. Today he is.
Today he is.
On Subversion he was.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to start with the Josh Saunders match because Josh Saunders capped us off. He went against Augusto Cursino. And we saw Josh Saunders last at his match against Gordon Ryan when he was still a brown belt. He lost to Gordon Ryan via heel hook and then got his black belt very shortly after there. And we were talking about this kind of off the air a lot of like, yeah, this match will be kind of a hallmark in Saunders' career because Saunders has only been training like less than 4 years.
Yeah.
Not that long.
Because he's like, can you get your brown belt in 4 years?
In 23 months or whatever his story was. And, he's won through ADCC. He's won trials. Like, has a really, really interesting kind of training mentality and like methodology for how he has gotten there. And so as a guy with that kind of training methodology, I thought it would be really interesting. I was like, yeah, he's going to get the match with Gordon Ryan. What doesn't matter what happens. He's going to have a ton of takeaways. And he's given some interviews this week in leading up to the Subversion match, basically talking about, there were some things in the Gordon match that we identified, we saw, we have worked on, we have incorporated into training. It was like cool to have him immediately going and talking about that experience versus Gordon and then going and making those changes and adjusting. And we saw a couple of times there's one really neat sequence where Augusto essentially from Saunders does a takedown, does like a body lock kind of trip, outside trip near the edge of the mat. And Augusto does a really good job of almost doing a scissor leg entry from the bottom. And he gets a good bite on Saunders' knee. And then Saunders does a really nice job of shelving, getting up, and then he immediately puts his hand on his leg and pops the knee out. Yeah. So there's no ability for Augusto to be able to get underneath him, to get into the legs, to get into a heel hook. And it was like, again, we've seen Saunders do stuff like this before, but it was nice to see him after the Gordon match. Like, Augusto's going to go for the legs. That's a way that you can get into Saunders.
And immediately doing that.
Yeah,
not
really
allowing
clean.
Not allowing any time to occur between, him trying to get under him and removing the knee.
Yeah. It was a really nice, it was like, ooh, Saunders is a dude that is going to give a ton of dudes more and more problems as a black belt now. And as he continues to have more and more high-level matches, now going to ADCC, he's going to get that experience. And with kind of his really unique sort of specific training thought process and mentality, it will be really interesting to see him kind of continue to progress. He hits a heel hook here from single leg locks, which I thought was very funny. He has had leg locks before, but it was nice to see him like, yeah, man, I just got beat by heel hook. We've been working a lot of that post-match and all those interviews, and then him immediately going to heel hook, go to single leg locks. He does the finish where he puts his outside foot on the hip line and he bridges away. He doesn't have to go very far. He's super strong. You see his mechanics as he kind of turns it, and Augusto taps pretty quickly on that. But Josh Saunders is kind of back into the win column there. And again, looks impressive. Good takedown. I'm super curious to see what he looks like at ADCC. It'll be interesting to see if he can hold his own and how long he can hold his own. Or is he going to get actually Victor Hugo's out of ADCC.
Yeah.
There was one transition that Augusto made where there could have been a knee bar, and I was like, ooh, if he ends on Hugo against that could be a problem. But Victor Hugo's out of ADCC. Nicky Rod's out of ADCC. Like a bunch of your bigger, stronger, top level seeded guys.
True.
Gordon's out of your division now.
And the rest.
He has a real solid shot with a couple of those big names kind of being pushed out. He has Big Dan, which I think is a really interesting match to see because both of them are just human powerhouses. Yeah. Big dudes at the top weight class that don't cut the weight.
And I'm not in a mean way by saying this, but they're not all the most experienced grapplers. They're all purple to, because even
can do black belts.
Yeah, because McQueen, who is the European
Scotland,
he's a purple.
I believe one of the strongest dudes ever lived. Literally.
But so they're not these seasoned, been around forever.
They're all guys that will very much kind of lay it on the line, where it's like you're not talking about guys that have been to ADCC 5 times. Yeah, these guys are all first, second time.
Well,
at ADCC.
you do have you have Heike or
Heike. Julissa.
Yeah. Julissa, I mean,
has been there a bunch
been there
of time.
Forever.
Yeah,
and he's kind of always there.
Mm-hmm.
So
always in the mix.
You have him.
You do have some veterans.
Yeah, you have
a lot of your super big younger or super big guys at the weight class are actually quite young and don't have a depth of world championship level experience in the way
that's what I was trying to say too.
Before.
Yeah.
So it'll be this ADCC at plus 99 is going to be super interesting for that reason, because you have a lot of young guns that are really looking to go out and make a name for himself, and Saunders is right in that mix, and this match kind of showed, still right in that mix. So next match, you have it up here.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it?
So we have Baby Dave Stolescu.
I call him Stoli.
Stoli.
Everyone calls him Dave Stoli or Baby Dave.
Okay, Baby Dave versus Rian DePaula. And this was, the way I explained it is Baby Dave murders man and takes his foot due to a Brazilian tap.
Oh, that's your whole note for this.
That is
that
is my entire note for this, because it is Baby Dave going, grabbing a leg because he's like, I don't want to pass you, so I'm gonna grab your leg.
And the commentary brought it up too, that like
he sits into a leg for a heel hook, and the gentleman kind of arches back, and I don't know if it was a foot grab or if it was a tap, but the match stops, and then it looks like a Brazilian tap, which we know what that means.
Yeah.
By a Brazilian. And then they're like, keep on going, and Baby Dave's like,
Baby looks at him angrily,
grabs the foot and yanks it.
Rips. Like,
yeah.
And he rips long enough where I was like, that might have been a little unnecessary.
Yeah, it was a little much.
But it's one of those like, yeah, man, if you get a guy that like says he taps or doesn't tap and like that, it's like, I kind of.
But to stop in the position that they're in, all he had to do was yank it at that point. You know what I mean? You're already there. Like, why would you restart in that position? Anyway.
It was an interesting
It's something.
Match. But
it's something.
I love the commentary for this match because they talked about Rion's plan.
Yeah.
And like they had a commentary guy. Sorry, I missed the commentary. Who actually was on commentary? They spoke a little bit of Portuguese, and he was like, "What's their commentary saying?" He goes, "Stay away from his legs." And I was like, "That's very, very good advice versus Dave." And then later in the match, basically they talked about the dynamics changing in the match, where potentially later in the match, when they got more sweaty, Dave would have potentially a harder time there.
Yeah.
And it would kind of more swing into Rion's favor, and it didn't need to.
Yeah.
So Dave Selecki takes that via heel hook. Interesting match. I saw it on Instagram. It was where I saw the final, but it's also, you can find the whole thing on Flow. And it was Dave taking another heel hook home.
We have Vinicius Martins versus Lucas Lacerda, black belt gi. This is one of the first gi arm bars that I think you learn in jiu-jitsu. It's when you get mounted, if somebody tries to power lift you, you grab their arm and you take it home. And
armbar from the back. You just armbar from you just swing up and armbar.
Yeah, swing up and armbar. But Vinicius. I can't say anything today. Vinicius.
Is it Vinicius or Vinicius?
It could be Vinicius. Does some It's Vinicius. Okay.
But it's also Australia, so it could be. It could also be what you said.
Yeah, I do not know. But he, very simple, very good jiu-jitsu, very controlling jiu-jitsu. Yeah. If you just want to see a match to understand, your basics, and very good basics, this is a really good match to watch.
Oh, it's the mic ball that's making me cough. That's what it is. This is these are both brand new, and I just took them out of the package yesterday.
Yeah.
And they're off-gassing a little bit.
Yeah.
And I breathed something in, and that's what it is. So I apologize for everyone as I continue to cough into the mic.
You breathed in the weird stuff.
Yeah, I breathed in the weird whatever plastic material this is, and now I'm coughing. So
nice.
Again, apologies for everyone. Still in the process of, by the way, soundproofing this space. So if it's a little echoey, we got some new mics. I'm going to continue to work and soundproof more and more of this.
You also need to turn your phone off so that you stop getting messages.
350 episodes of this.
And then after that, we have Daniel Orheck versus Robert Degle.
Mm-hmm. This was a Degle match.
Yeah.
This was Robert Degle looking for a very specific heel hook and a backside heel hook entry, and playing from his butt, playing from the seated open guard, and Daniel doing a really, really good job consistently maintaining the range and not letting Degle get under him, not letting Degle get a good bite. This is, I think, actually a really neat study match for if you have a guy in Degle that is very, very good at a nice collection of leg locks. If you can maintain and he really only wants to do that in this match. Yeah. If you can maintain the range on him, how to actually kind of systematically be able to stop a lot of those attacks at range, and then you have Degle, who is able to take the match on decision, kind of I think very, very deservedly so, just with his continued offense over and over and over and over, and looking for the arm drag into the leg, looking for the lift up into the leg, looking for the sit back into the leg. All of it is just a continued attack into a collection of a couple different leg locks, And Daniel does a good job repeatedly just kind of going, he's going to go here, put my hand in the way, I put a frame in the way, I put a hook in the way, I put a leg in the way, just consistently maintaining that pace.
But at the same time, also not being able to pass Degle's guard.
Yeah. Degle has a very good guard, and that was, again, it works in conjunction because, like, Degle is putting up tons of offense and is frustratingly hard to pass, frustratingly hard to deal with, and you can never really get go, or a lot of guys really struggle to get going on Degle because he's just consistently, he keeps a pretty high pace, and he's sort of always giving you new problems, and like you can sort of stalemate him at this range, but it's really hard for most guys to be able to get ahead of him and get into something. And we only see it at like trials and stuff. Like if he's fighting a guy beyond like a world level trials guy, like he's gonna get in, he's gonna get underneath you, and like he's gonna get something going. So really fun match. I think it's actually a really great match to go and study if you want to see just exactly how Daniel is maintaining that range versus a guy as dangerous as Degle.
Yeah.
So it was actually, I really enjoyed this match. It was really, really interesting because you just get to see so many reps of these entries.
Yep.
Next match, we had James Smith versus Rob Panoski.
And James Smith just kind of passes and gets on top of him and passes and gets on top of him and passes and just controls him the entire time. I'm trying to think if there was a specific passing. I think he was just even doing a basic knee cut into mount and then trying a bunch of mount attacks.
We saw this on finishers as well. Like guys are getting really good. We saw Chen do it. We're seeing a lot of people knee cut and then immediately popping them out. In a way, the no-gi that we've seen guys do it at the top level. We are seeing like every pro match now. It is on the table. Like we don't see a lot of guys pass, camp inside, control. Like we see so many guys pass immediately into mount.
Yeah.
It is sort of the new shifting meta of
which I
that
like.
Rapid. It's amazing because it's in combination scoring.
Yeah.
It gets you both your pass and your score, and in ADCC it puts you in mount. The guy's gonna turtle. You're gonna start to work the back. You're gonna start to like work a clean pass. It always puts you in a better position, or it scores you more points. And so it's like really nice to see guys like combination passing. Like this.
unless you're in like an IBJJF rule set where you are trying to rack points.
Yeah, but you can rack that because you can get you'll get your pass and your mount.
Yeah,
in IBJJF.
True.
So,
but you're not getting your true.
And ADCC you don't.
Yeah,
but IBJJF you still do. So yeah, really nice match for James Smith. Australia takes this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It was fun. Again, I like watching Subversion. It's an awesome opportunity to take a look at a lot of the grapplers over in Asia and Oceania, and really specifically Australia most of the time. And they've usually headlined with Josh Saunders, which we don't see we don't get a chance to cover a ton of Saunders matches. So I love that he consistently headlines that. He's always fun and always just like consistently developing, and I love to see it. So anything else on Subversion?
Nope.
I would love Subversion to put the names of the competitors at the bottom on the broadcast. They've never done it before. It is super helpful. I would really love to see that. Sometimes when we do notes breakdowns, it makes it hard to like figure out what match you're in, or like when you're going back and doing notes, or when I'm watching live, sometimes I forget, especially because a lot of these folks are from a region we don't get a chance to cover as much. It is super helpful to see the guys' names there because I'm relying a lot of times on commentary. I am relying on commentary alone to give me the names. They did a great job of that, and they should be like commended for that. But having it at the bottom of the broadcast is just so helpful. I need to see it there. I would love them to implement that moving forward because their cards are a lot of fun. They're just easier to keep track of that way. I also kind of like the big overhead camera they have. I like that camera.
You always like the overhead cameras.
Yeah.
I like them sometimes.
You like them sometimes. I think I'm the only one on the team that consistently likes the downshot overhead camera.
Yeah, I like it sometimes, but not all the time.
That Polaris has. So that was Subversion 2 Origins. Miranda, where do you want to go to? You want to go to Fight to Win, or do you want to go to
Fight to Win?
Okay, Fight to Win. Let's talk about Fight to Win 256 in
Visalia.
Okay, I knew it was in California.
California.
And Seth said it on the broadcast. I just was like, I'm not gonna be able to remember where that was.
Visalia.
We see the return of Josh Cisneros.
Dude, he's huge.
Dude,
he looked like a big boy.
He looked really good.
He looked big.
So if you don't know, Cisneros, like we've talked about Cisneros for years and years and years. The first time we ever talked about Josh Cisneros was he was a purple belt. I think it was 2018, and he had the submission of the year on Fight to Win. It was like a jumping teepee choke.
Oh yeah, he put the guy out in the teepee choke.
And that was the first time we saw Josh Cisneros, and it was like, this dude's really good. And that was submission of the year 2018. It was like that. I think that's sub. And like, we usually don't get that to purple belts, like it, but overall, it was like that was a phenomenal submission. And now we see him back in fight to win. Like Josh Cisneros, I think, has the belt currently. But it is awesome to see him kind of all of these years returning to fight to win over and over again.
He's a 2-time lightweight fight to win champ. This was not a title match, and I don't know the reason why.
Okay.
But they didn't announce it that way, and nothing. They didn't have the pictures with him with the belt or anything.
Oh, so. Bill Cooper versus Mateus Luna was a title. Okay,
was a title.
I flipped those in my head.
But I don't know why this. I don't know. I also don't know.
It was fun. Yeah. Cisneros, I was really impressed here initially because Joao Mendes locks up a heel hook really quick on Cisneros, and I was like, "Ooh, this could go." Because historically, Cisneros had some problems with his knees.
Joao Mendes is an Atos guy that goes through the IBJJF scene and does very, very well.
He's a very, very good black belt. Like this was this was like a low key, really, really exciting matchup. You actually wrote his nickname down.
Yeah, his nickname is Bisnaga.
Bisnaga,
which means squirt or water gun.
That's really cool. You love the Brazilian nicknames. Every day on the pre-show, you always bring them into me.
I always try to find the Brazilian nicknames because most of the time they're not very nice and they make me giggle.
Yeah.
So
I love that. But this was really early in the match. I was like, we know Cisneros. We cover Cisneros a lot. We know Joao Mendes, a phenomenal Atos black belt, but we don't get a chance to usually cover his matches. He's a lot more in the IBJJF circuit, whereas Cisneros is a lot more on the circuits that the paid circuits that we tend to cover on the show. And early in this match, when him locking up a heel, I was like, ooh, this could go not the way I thought it was going to go. And then that was the end.
Yeah.
Cisneros from that kind of moment out gets out of a knee bar heel combination and then immediately passes and then starts kind of getting his game going, and we start to see a really interesting style of passing from Cisneros. He will sort of camp in the knee shield half guard, and we've seen him do it for years, and then he will just explode through. And then explode through.
Yeah, it's wild to watch because he camps for such a long time. You don't expect it, and then all of a sudden he just shoots through and gets straight in immediately, and you're like, holy shit, you just got past that guy's guard. You sat there for 5 minutes. Why did you sit there for 5 minutes?
It's such an interesting style of passing. In this match he was a little more active in the passing, but it was really he passes in a way that is pretty unique actually, watching it, because he's not. A lot of guys will drive the knee cut through consistently for a long time and eventually get past that knee, but Cisneros will kind of post up, stand there, and then he will drive and then just explode through.
Yeah.
But he does a really good job of being able to settle that once they get past. I think he's really good at prioritizing underhook control on the cross side when he does that. It was just a really interesting transition, and then he immediately goes to the top, immediately goes to the back, and then just locks a rear-naked choke. Towards the end of the match, I think 2.5 minutes left in the match. But after that initial sequence, it was very much sort of
one-sided.
One-way travel for Cisneros.
Yeah, it went that direction. Joao did throw up a couple submissions earlier in. When Josh was camping out in that knee shield position. But then once he kind of shot through the knee shield, it was over. Yeah. It was a very, very much a tale of dynamism of two matches. I think Cisneros would have probably wanted there was much time. There's 2 minutes left in the match. Yeah.
I think Cisneros was very much still building. It would have taken a decision, but didn't need to. It's a very quick rear-naked choke. Wish we had a camera angle on the other side to see the hands, but it was...
Yeah, because it was fast.
Yeah, he locks it in and just chops it in.
Yeah, and it was over. And normally you have a couple seconds of them to adjust it.
We know how good of a squeeze Cisneros has. We also know one of the things that is a big hallmark of Cisneros' game is he is extremely quick.
Yeah.
He one point threw a jumping armbar over this. He has some of the best flash submissions at this weight class.
Yeah, his jumping armbar was wild.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
He almost got it too. He was a little further out, and he'd kind of need more distance on the leg and the shoulder, but it was still one of those ooh, that kind of looks like Peter Frank. That's really good armbar from a really unorthodox position. And again, all the guys at the top level can do that, but Cisneros is a guy that will very much sort of, with a degree of frequency I appreciate, lay it on the line.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see him in ADCC this year.
He is.
Is he?
He's an invitee.
Oh, that's right,
under
okay.
66. That's why I wrote that.
There it is, the note.
That's why the note is
in
right
my head
there.
it was-
I actually did that. I looked at that because I knew that would be our question when we got there. You would be like,
You knew what I would say.
You would be like, is he
Because
good?
I think we talked about it on the
yeah.
pre-show like 2 weeks ago, and I didn't think he was in.
He was an invitee.
And then we left who it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I remember the poster from this
Yeah.
year. Yeah. Happy to see him in, because the under 66 kilo division it hasn't got hit by CGI at all.
No,
so
because
it is
they're all
just-
kind of smaller gentlemen. Yeah.
It is just straight up a stacked division, and like Cisneros looked phenomenal last ADCC. I can't wait what 2 more years at black belt like does for him. So it'll be fun, especially with this performance and how good he looked here.
Yes.
Anything else on this one for Josh Cisneros?
Nope.
Let's move on to the next one. We have Mateus Luna taking on Bill the Grill Cooper.
In the gi.
In the gi, which I love. Again, we usually see Bill Cooper in the gi nowadays. Like
For the middleweight championship match.
which Luna has currently.
Yeah. And he's still, and after this match, he still continues
He
to
retains,
have it.
yeah.
This was kind of an old school versus a new school match. Mateus pulls, and Bill kind of squats to not have him get anything, and then they kind of stalemate for a little bit. And then
Mateus throws up a triangle.
Yeah.
Then he kind of moves to an armbar, and then Bill looks at it and kind of goes, "I'm just not gonna tap this. I'm just gonna get out of this."
And
just,
I
like,
mean, he does
hunkers.
quite a few times puts Bill to his butt. Like he kind of sweeps him, but he doesn't come up on the sweep. He just kind of bumps him down. And he grabs that high guard, and then he tries to go for the arm and triangle. And Bill just kind of stays in a nice little squatted position. And that's basically the whole match.
Yeah, Bill's very measured in his defense, but he wasn't able to put up really any offense against Luna. Luna was very much in the driver's seat from the guard, and it was again like an old school, new school match. It was funny though to see just how calm Bill was.
He would
in
like
the high guard triangle.
he would like giggle.
Yeah, he was
afterwards. Yeah.
And then you see him just like shuck it off. Like that is Mateus Luna is a very good guard player, and I don't think people really recognize just kind of like how much skill it does in fact take to be able to hang out there for that long and not have Mateus Luna just suck you into a triangle.
Well, we saw Mateus Luna put 100 and something points up on somebody at IBJJF that one time, so we know he has the ability to do that if he wants to.
He can do it. So that's all we have for Fight to Win. Again, love that Cisneros is back on it. They always put on a bunch of fun matches. It's awesome to get a chance to kind of circle back to Fight to Win.
Yeah, they have a card in Seattle this weekend, but they don't have the card announced.
Listing, yeah.
Yeah. So
and, those the big localities usually bring out some really fun talent.
Yeah.
So we will see who's on it and then give it a shot next week. So let's move on. Anything else on Fight to Win?
Nope.
All right, let's move on to the Finishers Summer Bash and the Who's Number One Qualifier. We talked about it a little bit in the pre-show. We're going to talk about some select matches here. I'm going to kind of let you drive matches you want to talk about because you were there live.
I was.
And I watched it online, but you were in the room.
It was a million degrees.
Yeah, you can see you're coaching one of the matches, and I can see you just like so. I was like right on the hot, and I can just see you sweating on the video.
I also didn't realize how aggressive my facial expressions are when I coach. I look like quite the bitch when I coach. So if you ever want to just try to find me in there,
you always pick Miranda out in the crowd, just like that she didn't like that pass.
I am angry.
She didn't like that leg transition that
I did not like the transition. So it was the 155 who's number one bracket. It was 27 matches, I want to say, total. It was a long ass bracket, let me tell you.
But I do like that they do a qualifier. They let a bunch of
they
people
do.
But
really it was almost like they should have just done one event for that. Right?
Yeah, they had enough And again, sometimes these are weird though, where you only get 8 guys registered. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Other times you get a bunch. And recently, we've noticed it with a lot of super fight promoters that we talk to, and actually Zach as well. Some of these cards have been really finicky to get matched.
I don't think this card was that big because I remember us looking at it and it was like 6 or 7
It wasn't
people.
that big until a couple.
And
weeks
then
ago.
I remember looking at it when we got there, and I was like, "Holy crap! There's a ton of people in this thing." So I don't know if it just
I think
popped.
maybe for something like this, bring it to 1 overtime.
Yeah.
But then that's kind of a weird some of them went all 3 overtimes.
Yeah.
Which I think when you have a match that's I think they're 6 minutes or 8 minutes.
They're 8 minutes.
Yeah, they're 8-minute matches.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes,
Yeah.
2 minutes. You can easily get into some of the matches on the videos because I love that they have them parted out on Flow Grappling are 20 plus minutes. And
Yeah.
you're like, that's a really long one match in a 27-man bracket.
Yeah.
Like it just makes for a very long day. But again,
Well,
if you
27 matches. I don't think it was 21.
Oh, sorry, 27 matches.
Yeah,
So
I
just-
don't know.
And
if
some of
it's
them are
still
quick,
up. Yeah.
but some of them are not quick. Some of them are, a third of an hour.
Yeah.
And it takes time. And I think you got out of there almost at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I would. So
Yeah.
it started at 6, and about 1 o'clock in the morning. So
Longer
it
event.
was 27 athletes. You were correct.
Okay.
So it was 27 gentlemen that were registered, and we had some kind of notable people in here. We had Jack Sear. He was over from the UK.
We talk about him on Polaris not infrequently.
Yeah. We had Michael John. He's a 10th Planet Orange, I believe, gentleman. We have Bobby Sandhu. He's B team. He was the tallest 155er I think I've ever seen in my entire life. He's like a
Really?
good 6'2".
Ooh,
Like
really?
lanky 6'2". Zach Elfrani or how do you pronounce the last name?
You put me on the spot, Miranda. I was going to read it, and then you put me here. Yep. El Farani.
Yeah. Remember, he was a local guy. He's with Pedigo now.
Yeah.
Christian Bobby. I know how to say this last name, and I heard it said a million times. I believe it's Bobby. From Web MMA, Sid why are you making
Travala. I'm
Don't-
disappointed.
yeah,
Sid
you go.
Travala, who from Standard now,
Yeah.
we talk about Sid a lot. I've seen him locally for a long time. He's been on the finishers round for a while, so it was awesome to see him in this as well. And we had Anthony Molina Valdez in this tournament as well. And then in the finals, we had Isaac Cordova versus... Oh, where's your notes here?
Oh, I didn't write his last name. It was Julian Espinosa.
Julian Espinosa, yeah.
He was also in the bracket. I don't have that name up there, but anyway. And
It was the matches that I was able to see were a lot of fun.
yes,
We also on this card had an executioner finish that you showed me.
yes, we had. It was Michael John hit an executioner on one of the gentlemen earlier in the card.
Which an executioner, if you don't know, super rare sub. It is a guillotine from the back.
Yeah, you start off.
It's almost like a bulldog choke from the back. Kind
Yeah,
of is
but
what
you
it finishes
start
like.
you start in north-south. You get a north-south choke, and then you pull them up and take their back with your arm still around their head.
Yep.
And it's also called a Pez dispenser. I've heard that is the other name for it.
Pez dispenser. I always call it an executioner because a Pez dispenser just sounds like kind of wrong. It sounds way dirtier to me than just calling it an executioner.
Yeah, it looked quite painful.
I almost did this to a guy at a Naga once, and then I got halfway through, and I was like, I don't know if this is illegal at Naga.
I did this to one of my friends at my gym, my original gym that I went to.
Your friends.
Yeah, to a friend of mine. No, I mean accidentally.
I've done it in the gym.
Like I don't even think I knew exactly what I was doing, and then I got yelled at because they were like, "You're not allowed to do those in the gym," and I'm like, "I don't know what I was doing. I was just grabbing his head." You know.
You move funny. I took his
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But,
super rare. You don't see them very often, but they are neat subs to see.
Yeah.
And every time it comes up, I like to call it, like whenever you see something neat at a pro tournament like this, I always like to call it out because they're fun.
There's also a lot of reverse close guard, a lot more than I expected, but people are getting keen on it, so that you didn't see a lot of A blocks. You saw a lot of people going there, but not able to actually do anything from that position.
Okay.
Which
Again,
I thought was interesting.
I love watching the shifts in the meta over the years. You're like, oh, that's a problem. Then about 6 months later, people kind of go, and I fixed the problem.
Yeah.
And on to the next
well,
thing.
and because one of the refs for the event is
Abraham.
no, the gentleman who does the buggy choke.
Rene Souza.
Yes, because he was one of the refs. A lot of people were also trying buggy chokes.
That's funny.
From everywhere you can.
You also look, you're
possibly
like, I'm
imagine.
the rest of the buggy choke guy. I'm gonna do a buggy choke.
Yeah.
Because you're here.
Yeah.
You'll appreciate that.
But I mean, I guess also 155ers, maybe that's.
And also, you're at Finishers, which is 10th Planet Bethlehem. Like
Yeah.
you're in that room, which is like the progenitor of a lot of like that technique coming into prominence. Honestly, he's a lot of out of that room.
Yeah.
So
it was an interesting evening. I would say like Jack Sear had some really pretty entries. He had some beautiful jiu-jitsu. He was a little undersized, I would say, for the
the
150.
matches I saw from him, that's what it seemed like. He was moving into stuff really well, but he just wasn't able to like hold on or maintain.
And it was also, I mean, it was also 1,000,000 degrees, so there's also a possibility that maybe it was just the amount of sweat that was going on. But he had the prettiest jiu-jitsu out of everyone. He just couldn't seem to actually get a hold of anything on a lot of these gentlemen. But it was overall, it was a fun event to go to. They had a bunch of super fights that were kind of put between everything. I think they were in groups of 6, so they had like 18 super fights, and then they had the 27-man bracket.
Look, giving people an opportunity to compete.
It makes for a very, very long day.
I watched it online. You watched it in person.
I watched it in person. It was very long.
So let's talk a little bit about the finals match, because I really want to talk about the final sequence here from Isaac Cordova on Julian Espinosa.
Yeah.
Cordova hits a beautiful like the sequence that he hits in this pass is just beautiful. He hits essentially a flash pass knee cut over Cordova when Cordova was regarding, and the position where they get their legs really wide, and you can either go double unders.
Wrong name.
Sorry, Julian Espinosa.
Yeah.
Goes to retain his guard, gets his legs really wide, and traditionally in like the gi, you taught like grab the skirt, lift them up, do that like deadlift pass, sort of like a double underpass variation. Yeah. Well, in no gi, a lot of guys don't like to go to the double under there because you have to get so much lower than the person. Like you have to get on your knees and get underneath them, and it's usually by the time you do that at a high level like competition, guys are just away from you. They're back to the guard. They're playing something else. And so what Cordova does is he goes to the side and he flash passes over this regard, and then immediately, what we talked about earlier, into the mount. Yeah. And then from there, he does essentially what Joseph Chen did to Elijah Dorsey, where he lifts up the cross-side shoulder and then eventually is able to get the back and then slots in the rear naked choke very quickly. And so it's like, again, we talked about when you see changes in meta, you see the sequences, that pass to mount to shuck to back to, and it's like been in jiu-jitsu forever, but we're seeing more and more people. It is a very drilled sequence where you're not seeing a lot of protracted flat in mount with the shoulders down. Yeah. You're seeing the top player who's in mount doing a really good job.
But you're also seeing a lot of you're seeing a lot of people do the ADCC Opens and tournaments where there's no real benefit to go to those positions and hold them. Mm-hmm. You get your points, but and then
you're
up
on points and you're required to.
Yeah.
I love the way the meta is shifting because I don't have a bunch of matches where, okay, cool, man, he passed. Yeah, he's on top. Yeah, he's going to sit here for 3-4 minutes. Yeah. There's now like a point to move. Also, I think that to credit to the bottom player, we're seeing a lot more movement from the bottom player to stop the points and also to not just get camped on in mount. Yeah. Like even in the finishers, like which historically, hey man, it's been a strategy to wait for overtime. Sometimes we've seen plenty of guys
I've seen it. I saw a couple matches start to do that. But I didn't see a lot of matches.
I think we're seeing it less overall, like with the amount of ADCC Opens. A lot of your competitors, especially in a no-gi scene like this, they're doing more, and those rules and those kind of training practices are bleeding into the matches in a really good way. And as a result, we're getting a lot more movement from guys. We're getting a lot more activity, and these whole cards are a lot more fun. Cordova takes us by rear naked choke. Really excited to see him at who's number one. I don't know who they're going to match him up with, but I love that these two organizations are partnering together, and then he's hoping to get a big showcase on a big card. And that's great. That elevates his status. He wins a 27-man tournament. That is no easy feat to do that. We've talked about it for years. I love qualifiers. Polaris runs a qualifier. Kasai runs a qualifier. Third Coast runs a qualifier. Like all of these organizations have run qualifiers. ADCC Trials is a qualifier, and we have so many big names that have come out of all of these qualifiers, people to make their name and then get onto a big stage and get a big opportunity. So super important. I love to see it.
And Isaac Cordova also won the U.S. Grappling Trials a few months ago.
Oh, for UWW.
Or weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, for the world team, for U.S. world team.
So he's on the U.S. world team too.
Do we know what that is this year?
No, I didn't. Okay. I didn't look into
the one that John Hansen is the captain of. We've seen Kevin Crane on it. We've seen Alex Enriquez on it. Like
it's in Kazakhstan. I know that much, but
okay, so it's Kazakhstan.
Yeah, I think it's always in Kazakhstan.
Oh, I always forget. I always thought that it moved, but it doesn't move.
I don't think it moves. I think it stays in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, so that's cool. We sometimes will cover the UWW World Championships, but it is I find it a very difficult organization to cover, just with how it's structured, how the tournament runs. I would love to cover it more. We've covered it off and on for the past 7 years. I just find it a really difficult organization to cover. So, but he did win that recently.
They're doing gi too this year too, but I can't find.
They always do gi and no gi.
They always do.
They always do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Usually we see the no gi stuff, but they do both.
Yeah, I don't know when it's going to be, but the trials are back on the 22nd of June. Mm-hmm. So
So pretty recent. So he won that, and it kind of, again, speaks to his level. He is a guy that I foresee us seeing more of in the future. And how old he is?
No, I don't think he's that old.
Okay.
I don't know.
Great to see. So I think that does it for recaps this week. Do you want to move into the previews? We have two events to preview. We have ADXC and Pit Submission 4. Oh, sorry. No, ADXC is in 2 weeks, actually.
Isaac Cordova is 29 years old.
Okay. So,
yeah.
You know, not
He's
the
an instructor at 10th Planet Orange.
Okay. Cool.
So
we have one event happening next week, and then we have two other events. We're going to talk about them a little bit. ADXC 5, headlined by Uriah Faber and Bibiano Fernandez, Chad Mendes and Kevin Lee. BJJ Stars Viking is August 2nd. That's Davi Ramos and Mikey Galvao, Francisco Lowe, Tynan Valpra. We'll preview that next week in both those cards in much more detail, but both super fun cards. So that'll be next week is CJI rules and these two cards for previews. But also next week we have a card happening, which is
it's this week.
This week,
it's like Thursday.
I talked around that in the weirdest possible way I could have.
Anyway.
I got out of order. Karate Combat 48, Pitch Submission 4, Nashville, Tennessee.
Thursday.
Yep, it's on Thursday. Midweek, which I love midweek cards occasionally.
I do not like them.
I love them when they don't end at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I love them when they end at
I like to sleep.
10. Headlined by Aljamain Sterling versus J.J. Wilson. Also on the co-main, we have Alexander Romanov versus Roosevelt Souza and Patrick Gaudio versus David Ramalho. I think that got announced today, didn't it?
What?
Patrick Gaudio versus Diego Ramalho?
No, it's been out for a while. I don't know. They might not have had the flyer for it that was
Maybe
out.
That's what it was.
But when I saw Romanov, I was like, oh, I need to see this. And then I went and looked for it. And they had all the names and everything. They might not have had the stuff to advertise for it yet, but...
So Aljamain Sterling, which one do you want to start here for the preview?
You already said Aljamain. So
Aljamain Sterling versus J.J. Wilson. J.J. Wilson's a good grappler. We've seen him on, I think, Emeralds and Invitational. He does grappling tournaments from time to time. I think he's a Bellator fighter.
Okay.
We've seen him on Jits King. And then Aljamain Sterling. We've seen him on CFFC. We've seen him on Fury. We've seen him on Polaris. He's been a UFC champion. He has sometimes had matches that were not the most action-packed.
Yes.
I'll put it that way.
If you sit and play guard, he does not like you.
Go back to his match with Kevin. Actually, don't watch it. Kevin Dantzler at Fury. We saw him kind of
not really do much.
Yeah, it was a slow match.
He wanted to wrestle, and Dantzler said no, and Aljamain then decided to not pass.
Yeah. And kind of same thing happened to Polaris. It was like it. So I think JJ's going to wrestle with him, which is good. With the pit walls, I'm going to go Sterling because it is pit submission uses a more MMA style judging criteria and rule set. And I think with Sterling's experience in the UFC and all the years of MMA, his top position, he also has phenomenal wrestling, will put him on top and allow him to be on top. I think JJ will throw something up. I think Sterling can absolutely get the back.
Yeah.
And absolutely finish if JJ lets him get there. But I think this is going to be a top position performance from Aljamain Sterling, just based on the proclivities in Sterling's game for what he likes to do. He wants to wrestle. That's why he takes these matches, because he wants to wrestle. And then he wants to be on top of you when he does wrestle. And then if you give him an opportunity to pass, he will pass, and then he will try to take you back. If you don't give him that opportunity, he's not really going to ever overextend himself other than maybe once in the match.
Yeah.
He might do it twice, but he's not going to kind of flagrantly overextend himself. He's going to play a very measured, pressure-first, heavy, situational game. And it's really the question of, like, can JJ deal with that? Can he throw up enough offense, or is the wrestling of Sterling here going to be a problem?
Well, but we also know it's MMA rules because we had that one match that happened on one of the
Poya
last
Romani
cards.
Versus, kind of Duarte.
Yeah, where Poya won by being on top.
And that's sort of what I kind of unfortunately think might happen here, is that we're just going to get a match that's like, Sterling was on top.
Yeah.
It really will depend on the guard work of Wilson. Wilson will play. He'll get a little wild with his guard now and again, but I think he also was a guy that wants to be on top, wants to be actively pressuring forward.
But it's also, MMA grappling, which MMA grappling, you're not going to have that crazy guard because you're going to get punched in the face.
Right, which makes sense, again, what the sports these gentlemen do. I'm going to go, again, former champion Aljamain Sterling here by top pressure, by top work. I hope it is more exciting than I think it will be, but Sterling has had a historically slower matches on the year of us covering him in grappling.
I agree.
Next one. This is going to be a banger. This is going to be
interesting.
Alexander Romanov.
Some wild shit right here.
Versus Roosevelt Sousa. Roosevelt Sousa's in plus 99. Did he move or is he still plus?
He was in plus when I looked.
Plus 99. Alexander Romanov, UFC heavyweight, has had kind of a string of wins and losses recently here.
Holy shit. Did you see him throw Kyle Dawkins around at Fury?
Bruh. Romanov is a freak athlete.
He will suplex you on your head.
And just have a good time doing it.
Yeah.
Just repeatedly. I'm curious with the cage. Again, this is... So two things here. This is a phenomenal ADCC level grappler versus UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Historically, this goes one-way traffic. Yeah. This goes Roosevelt Sousa deals with, cool, Romanov puts him on his butt because he's probably a better wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Sousa will play guard.
The thing about Romanov is most of Romanov's takedowns aren't the kind that land you on your butt. They're the kind that land you on your head.
They're Greco takedowns.
Or on him into a very
side control,
good, solid spot that you're not getting out of. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't just let you up and then throw you again on your head.
Like he did with Dawkins.
Yeah, just because.
I think what I have seen from... I like Romanov's game. It's really exciting. It's when he gets going, it's exciting. Yeah. Roosevelt Sousa has, in the last year and a half, has just impressed the shit out of me.
And the other thing you have to think about is the room that Roosevelt Sousa's in.
Yeah, fight sports.
They are probably throwing him on his head also.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be anything
your
new.
Main guy.
Yeah, it's not going to be
nothing new.
No, nothing new.
The Cyborg also level suplex. Yes, absolutely. Achilles Rocher's in that room. You got Wagner in that room. You got a bunch of guys that are willing to go super hard in Miami.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think it's anything that Sousa's not going to be ready for. And I just think that this is a levels. Sousa is not a world-class UFC fighter. He is a world-class grappler. And we are doing the grappling. Yeah. And it's unfortunate. I wish I had more technical analysis for it. I think Sousa's it'll be a little more standout than I would like. I think we're going to go to the ground. I think Sousa will play guard. I think Sousa either gets the back or gets into a leg. Yeah. But it also wouldn't surprise me to have Sousa be throwing up repeatedly from the guard and Romanov be able to kind of stalemate that. And we see a Poya Romani versus kind of Duarte kind of situation where potentially Romanov on top after a big throw could take this. But I very much think that Sousa will be able to put up enough offense in the pit to get something going and to have submission attempts on Romanov here.
I agree.
So
we've actually did commentary for an Alexander Romanov absolute bracket where he lost to a smaller gentleman.
Gavin. He lost to Gavin Corbray.
So,
and that was kind of controversial because it was did he tap? Did he not? You doing commentary with that?
Yeah.
I forgot that was us.
Yeah, it was me and you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was a whole tap thing, and then
we didn't know if he tapped. We thought he tapped. I thought he tapped, and then the refs said he tapped.
And then all the refs got involved, and then
we got involved, and I was like, why am I involved?
And then Max Jimenez got involved, and then you got involved somehow, and I was like, oh shit, I'm going to shut up. I don't want to be involved in this.
And then I looked at you, and you're like, you should have shut up. And I was like, I should have shut up. So, but that's the thing. So go again. Neither kind of outcome would surprise me, but this is a match I think that Roosevelt Sousa should absolutely be able to win. But again, it's karate combat. It's pit submission. That top position again. Go back and watch your match with Conor Duarte versus Poya Romani. That it was nothing really happened in that match. They gave it to Poya for top position.
Yeah.
Next one we have. Anything else on that,
nope.
Miranda? Patrick Gaudio versus Diego Romala. Gaudio's in ADCC this year, right?
I think so.
I think he is.
Romalo,
I think, is also in ADCC this year. Or is one of the top guys?
No, I think he's just been doing a lot of shit lately.
Okay.
But I could be wrong with that.
I actually really don't know how this is going to go. It kind of depends on what Patrick Gaudio shows up. Because Gaudio can kind of be like, he can have, not spotty performances is not the right word to put it. He can, sometimes he has just he'll put in a weird performance. I don't think he will versus Romalo, but Romalo also has, both of them looked really good recently.
Okay, so Patrick Gaudio is in under 99.
Under 90, okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Is Romalo in the...
I'm looking.
Is he in the same bracket, same division? Okay.
No.
I'm trying to think back to what the last thing we've seen Diego Romalo do is.
I think he's been doing a lot of super fights lately because I've seen that name a bazillion
IBJJF
times.
and super fights, I think,
Yeah.
is where we've
I
seen
think
him.
that's where you've seen him a lot lately. Or
that's what it is.
and like the Brazilian cards. Because he's in the Brazilian card. No, that's Pedro Romano.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't think he's...
Yeah, I just don't know how this is going to go. I wish I had kind of more better analysis. I really want to use this card to see what Patrick Gaudio looks like.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been seeing a ton of him on the cards that we cover. And so in Nogi, on a Karate Combat, which is funny because CJI is in this pit.
Yeah.
And then Gaudio is in ADCC.
Yeah. Well,
So it's such a funny, turn of events.
I guess you do. Well, Roosevelt Souza's in ADCC too. They don't have any of the
Oh,
CT.
that's really funny.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see how both these guys look. I don't really have a pick for this one. I think this would be a odd style matchup. That could be a lot of fun. It also could be a lot slower.
Yes,
So.
I agree.
Next week, anything else on Karate Combat Pit Submission 4?
No, it's in Nashville, Tennessee on Thursday. Has a bunch of karate matches with it.
That last card was fun as shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, the whole production, I find myself watching the grappling matches, and then I'm like, oh, I'm already here. I'll watch the next fight.
Yeah.
I'm it's like 3 or 4 fights in. I'm like, I have to do other things right now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun event.
They put.
I wish
together
they
good
were
cards.
closer because I would
absolutely go.
Dude, I looked at tickets. They're like $20. They're 20 to like $2,000.
We could go.
We
should go.
I can't go Thursday. I have a
Not
match.
this Thursday.
Oh.
I'm trying to.
No, I'm saying
We're a little too close to ADCC.
Yeah, but if they
come local, I'll drive 4 or 5 hours to go see a Karate Combat.
yeah.
Come to DC. That production looks so cool, like with the VR wall that they have and like the way they do it. That last time they had actually commentary for the grappling matches broadcast to the audience.
Yeah,
which is like so hard to do as a commentator.
But I like that because I don't like
cool.
the quiet. The quiet is annoying.
So that's Karate Combat Pit Submission 4. Next week, we are previewing ADCC 5. That's headlined by Uriah Faber versus Bibiano Fernandez. Chad Mendes versus Kevin Lee. Ryan Gracie versus Marcelo Corazino. We have Pedro Romalo versus Max Limbad. Luan Avarenga versus AJ Agazarm. That's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
And Felipe Bezerra versus Vladimir Biliam. And then also next week, we're going to preview BJJ Stars Viking, which I love them getting wild with the posters.
Yeah, and then everybody's like, "Where are the Vikings at?"
I was like, "Where's Tommy Lineacker?"
Yeah.
You have a Viking poster. You need Tommy Lineacker and you need Espen Mathisen.
Yeah.
Those are 2 guys you got to headline your Viking card. Your actual Vikings.
Yeah.
Absent this week. Oh, also speaking of IBJJF and like those guys, Worlds test results came back. Right now, everyone's posting they didn't pop.
Yeah.
Mika didn't pop. Adam Wardzinski didn't pop. That's all that I've seen so far.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody else so far, but I tried to look at the list to see if anybody,
Has anyone been redacted yet?
But I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, so in the next couple of weeks, somebody will get stripped of a world title due to doing a failing.
It happens. It happens every year.
It happens every other year. Every other year, someone pops.
Or like 5 people pop at the same time.
Well, that was just Nogi. For the
Nogi is its own.
Nogi is like, we all know Nogi. On an ADCC year? Come on.
Yeah.
ADCC is like, we do
well,
not
then
test.
you just don't do the big qualifiers.
Yeah, you do
Or
whatever.
not qualifiers, the big...
do it both. Take
yeah.
your band. Test it. Don't get tested. Have a good time.
Yeah.
So, on that card, we have Davi Ramos versus Mika Galvao. We have Francisco Lowe versus Tyna Dowper in the gi. That'll be fun. We have Anderson Muniz versus Felipe Andrew in the gi. Davi Ramos and Mika Galvao is no-gi. That's going to be super fun.
Yeah.
We have Pedro Maya versus Andy Murasaki in the gi. Murasaki is looking enormous.
Is he?
Ahead of this match. Yeah. We have Felipe Machado versus Diego Hayes, no-gi. That might be one of the best matches on the card.
Okay.
That's going to be phenomenal. We have Lucas Barbosa versus Zaki Behens, no-gi. We have Wellington Amareno versus Gabriela Costa, and that's in the gi. We have Fabio Caloi versus Servio Tulio, no-gi. Lolita Silva versus Ingrid Alves, a rematch. That's in the gi. That's going to be great. Felipe Nasilib versus Kleber Calzadeno, Caladrestino. In no-gi, Leonardo Goncalves versus Lucas Bernaldez. And we have Eric Hudson versus, I can't do that one. Kaiki Rigatti.
Yeah.
So that'll be next week. I am for about 6 of those matches.
Yeah,
I am excited to talk about next week.
BJJ Stars is always wild too. There's always all kinds of shit going on.
Mm-hmm. It's always like a wild. It seems like it'd be really great to go to with a translator.
Yeah, I would like to watch their Portuguese broadcast, because their American broadcasts, they generally like pipe in the audio from 2 people in a room like us.
I wish,
and
it's the flow guys.
And
I appreciate there's English commentary for it, but they have like ads. They have like it is a lesser broadcast.
They don't show you all the madness that goes on, because during the event they do like drums and shit and like weird shit, and like you don't get that experience because they go to commercials in the American.
Right.
But
the Portuguese broadcast is what we always now watch the Portuguese broadcast, and it's always actually I end up watching both of them. Yeah. I watch the English one for commentary, and then I will switch over to the Portuguese one as soon as the match ends to get the Portuguese experience.
Yeah, because you just never know, and then you might have somebody jump off a stage.
You keyed me into that. You like watched the Portuguese broadcast.
Yeah.
Or I think there was an issue with the English broadcast.
The English broadcast didn't have certain matches. That's what it was. It was like they went to break while matches were happening, and so then I had to go back to the Portuguese and watch the Portuguese one, and then I watched
everything was in the Portuguese.
And then I watched it, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is a fun event! I want to know what the fuck they're saying, because I have no clue."
Yeah. Duolingo sponsor the Grappling Rewind.
I would. No, because that bird scares me. The Duolingo bird, it's scary.
Right. So that's all I got this week for next week. Let's move into the outro.
Okay.
You have a fun match coming up this week.
Yeah, I have a match in a cage with
an MMA match
with MMA gloves, but no striking.
Right.
It'll be interesting. I am the co-main event. They told me that today.
That's exciting.
And
no pressure.
No pressure at all. No.
I may be there. I may be winning our Jim's Open mat. I've not decided.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know exactly what's going on yet.
It's just far enough away on a Sunday night that I'm like...
well, it's actually Sunday afternoon. I told you the wrong time.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Card starts at 1.
Well, in that case, I might be out there. It's still far away from me, but I might...
It's not that far.
It's like an hour.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's about an hour.
Is it like Carroll County? No.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's over there.
I know it's not...
It's like above Reisterstown.
Yeah, it's going to be... It should be an interesting thing all around. They do brackets for the gentlemen, and then for us, because we're the only ladies, they have just a one-off match. So.
Which is good. I like super fights. So
yeah,
it should be exciting.
I've been training in MMA gloves. It's a little bit harder than normal.
It's fun. I love doing it. I love training MMA gloves.
It's definitely different because you don't know when you grab people's wrists and their hands. Like it's like you can't figure out what the hell is going on. That's my only problem that I've come up with so
We
far.
have a young fighter in the gym that I've been training a lot of MMA with.
Yeah.
And I forgot, and he's like, he's 20.
Yeah.
And he wants to like be a pro fighter.
Yeah.
And he's really putting a lot of effort into that. And I'm like, okay, they train with him. I'm like, oh, right, the gloves, and he's learned them, and I'm like having to relearn them because I've been out of gloves for really about 9 years now. And so it's like to relearn how to like get the, okay, do this, and here's the grip, and here's the sneak grip I can take that's illegal that he doesn't know about, and like all of those things, like what Islam does, and like he grabs the inside outside cuff of the glove. And like, it's like, do I do that? Do I not do that? Like I'll do it occasionally. So it's been fun.
I think if it's there, he should know it exists.
We trained him on that, but it's like you have gone back into glove grappling as I have at the kind of a similar time, and it just made me laugh, like that and wall work. I've had to get back into wall work.
Dude, wall work is so rough.
And then get back into glove work. I'm like, I forgot how much I was like, it's one of those,
fun.
You don't use it, you lose it. And I was like, it took me like a couple weeks to like get used to, okay, bounce him off the cage like this, turn him, here's how you hook him, here's how you like take him down off the cage, here's how you defend a takedown off the cage. Yeah. And it's just been like funny to kind of foray back into stuff that I did like almost a decade ago, and then come back into remembering like, okay, here's how this technique works. Like talking to my coach, like, hey, how do I do this again? Yeah. And like, okay, cool. And like, thanks a lot. And then it's coming back and doing it.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time. They're 2-minute rounds. It's 3 2s. So
it's like amateur boxing.
Yeah, it's amateur MMA rules basically.
Oh, from Maryland. Okay, yeah, that's funny.
So it's not.
Do they run an MMA card the following day? Okay, I didn't
No,
have to do
it's
what
just
Sung
this.
did.
No, I think it's just this. I don't think they have an MMA card going. But it'll be interesting. A little less pressure, a little more pressure, kind of middle ground.
Maine. More pressure.
Middle ground.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. None.
So
Okay.
yeah, I'm just hanging out, moving.
Yeah.
I'm teaching my classes as a black belt now, which is neat, and like adjusting to that finally, which has been
Professor Maine.
ugh. No, that's not just Maine. Just Maine. I like that a lot better. So yeah, nothing changes. I'm realizing that it's like nothing changes. I thought like there was a 10% chance that all my injuries were just gonna heal and I get like a restart. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
That was my hope.
You do get a restart, but you get a restart into a pool of monsters.
I get a restart and like, cool, guess who's in your division now? Paulo Miao.
Yeah.
Joao Miao.
Yeah.
Isaac Cordova. Lucas Pinheiro. I'm like, all right, these guys are on their 30s like I am. Oh, we're on the same belt. Oh no. I went from having like easy masters competition at brown belt to having like world champ. Like
and you also have Mighty Mouse.
Oh, I think he's masters 2.
He is master 2.
I'm not masters 2 yet.
Oh, okay. So he's older than you.
He's older than me.
Oh.
Yeah.
He drops down a division.
He drops down a division and then like Mighty Mouse. I get, oh cool, Mighty Mouse. Oh, I've only watched you since forever. I've only watched you do this at the championship level since I started. Awesome. Remember you in WEC. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been cool.
I've watched you take down a 300-pound man.
Jesus, yeah. He's awesome to watch.
But
so, yeah. It's been a nice little adjustment, and I'm looking forward to absolutely nothing changing and me continuing to enjoy the shit out of the sport. And like it honestly has given me a weird like perspective because I had to go through and like write a speech finally for like the belt, and it was cool to like go back and kind of think about all the people and the community and like things that kind of helped me get to here and where we are, and like your help and all the people on the podcast and everything else. It was a really neat exercise to go through and like remember a lot of like my early training and like all the development that I've had along the way and all the people that have helped me there. And it was a really unique experience to get a chance to kind of reflect and do that and like get a chance to actually thank those people publicly. And it was like, it was nice. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So I got nothing else for you. Anything else this week?
No, that's all I got going on.
All right. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, with my co-host,
Miranda.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. See the mat, what it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.